In this story, a deadly virus spreads across the entire world, turning ordinary humans into terrifying creatures. These are not the slow, mindless zombies people used to imagine. These monsters are fast, unbelievably fast. They can sprint like wild predators, climb obstacles with ease, and chase their prey relentlessly. Some of them are even more dangerous. They are intelligent. They don't just attack blindly, they think, plan, and hunt. And the worst part, they can smell humans from miles away. In this broken world, survival is not about strength alone. It is about instinct, fear, and impossible choices. At the beginning of the story, everything seems normal. A young boy sits in his room laughing while watching cartoons on television. Bright colors flicker across the screen, and for a moment, the world feels peaceful. Safe. But that peace doesn't last. Suddenly, the TV signal glitches. The cartoon disappears. A loud static noise fills the room. Then, an emergency broadcast appears. The boy's smile fades instantly. A serious voice speaks through the screen, warning about a rapidly spreading virus. It says the infection is global. It spreads within minutes. Infected individuals lose control and become violent, attacking anyone in sight. The message is clear. Find shelter. Stay inside. Survive. The boy freezes. His small hands tighten as fear slowly takes over. Then, a strange noise echoes from upstairs. A dull thud. Then another. His heart starts pounding. Slowly, he stands up and walks toward the stairs. Each step feels heavier than the last. The house, once warm and familiar, now feels silent and unsettling. He climbs up carefully, only to suddenly get scared by his elder sister. She laughs. It was just a prank. For a moment, everything feels normal again, but only for a moment. Because when they both walk into their mother's room, they see something different. Their mother is not calm. She is terrified. Her hands are shaking as she tries to call someone on her phone. Finally, the call connects. It's their father. He is a pilot. His voice sounds tense, urgent. He tells them the truth. The virus is spreading everywhere. Airports are in chaos. People are turning within minutes. There's no control left. He tells them something that changes everything. Don't wait for me. Leave the city immediately. The children listen silently, trying to understand, trying not to panic. The father forces himself to sound calm. He reassures them. He tells them their mother will take care of everything. Before ending the call, he shows them something. A bracelet. A small, simple bracelet made by his daughter, Abigail. Keep this safe, he says. Abigail smiles faintly. She doesn't know this will be the last time she sees him as a human. Outside, chaos has already begun. Screams echo through the streets. Cars crash. People run in every direction. The mother doesn't waste any time. She grabs essentials, food, water, anything useful, and rushes the children out of the house. They get into the car, but before they can leave, something slams into the vehicle. A zombie, its face twisted, its eyes empty. It attacks their mother violently. Everything happens too fast. Abigail panics and hides under the car. From there, she watches, helplessly. Her mother, her brother, both being attacked. Their screams fade. The world goes silent. The zombie eventually leaves. But the nightmare is not over. Her mother begins to move again, slowly, unnaturally. She is no longer human. She is coming toward Abigail. Frozen in fear, Abigail cannot move. Then, a gunshot. A man appears. He kills the zombie, her mother, and saves her life. But the horror continues. Her younger brother is turning too. The man looks at Abigail. Cover your ears. She does. Another gunshot echoes. And, just like that, her entire world ends. 10 years later, the world is gone. Cities are empty. Buildings stand like skeletons of the past. Humanity has almost disappeared. Abigail is no longer a child. She has grown into a survivor. The man who saved her, Jack, became her protector, her teacher, her family. He trained her, taught her how to shoot, how to fight, how to survive. In this world, weakness means death, and Abigail has learned that lesson well. But survival comes at a cost, loneliness. After years in isolation, Abigail longs for something more, not just survival, life, people, hope. But Jack doesn't believe in hope anymore. He believes in distance, in staying hidden, in avoiding people. Because in this world, humans can be just as dangerous as zombies. The forest had never been quiet. Even in the old world, it was filled with the sounds of life birds, wind, distant animals. But now, it felt different. Every sound meant danger. Every shadow could be death. That night, the air was heavy. A cold wind moved through the trees as Jack and Abigail slept beside a small, controlled fire. Jack never slept deeply anymore. Years of survival had trained his body to stay alert even in rest. And then, a sound. Soft. Almost unnoticeable, but enough. Jack's eyes snapped open. He didn't move immediately. Instead, he listened. His breathing slowed, his senses sharpening. The sound came again, a faint crunch of leaves. Something was out there. Quietly, he reached for his gun and stood up. The firelight flickered across his face as he stepped away from the camp, disappearing into the darkness. The forest swallowed him whole. For a moment, everything was still. Then suddenly, a figure lunged from the shadows. A zombie. Fast. Violent. It charged straight at him, but Jack was faster. He fired instantly, one precise shot to the head. The creature dropped to the ground, lifeless. The sound of the gunshot echoed through the forest. Too loud, too risky. Abigail rushed toward him, her weapon already in hand. Are you okay? She asked, scanning the surroundings. Jack didn't answer immediately. His eyes were focused on the dead zombie. Then he said something that made her uneasy. We're not alone. Zombies rarely moved alone. If there was one, there were more. Without wasting time, Jack quickly packed their supplies. We leave now. They mounted their horses and moved through the forest as quickly as possible. But something felt wrong. The horses began to panic. Their breathing became erratic. their movements restless. Animals could sense danger long before humans. Jack tightened his grip. Stay alert, he said. As they moved forward, they spotted something ahead. A jeep, surrounded. Dozens of zombies circled it, attacking wildly. Inside, a man was trapped, struggling to defend himself. Abigail's eyes widened. We have to help him. Jack didn't respond immediately. Instead, he looked at her. This wasn't just about saving someone. This was a test. Go, he said calmly. Show me what you've learned. Abigail's heart started racing. This was her moment. She took a deep breath, aimed her weapon, and fired. One shot. Then another. Zombies began to fall. But then, she panicked. Her hands trembled. She fired too quickly. And one bullet missed its mark. It hit the man. Everything froze. The zombies were cleared, but the man inside the jeep was bleeding, badly. Jack walked forward, his expression cold. Abigail followed, her breathing uneven. I didn't mean to. He's dying, Jack said, cutting her off. They both knew what that meant. The man looked at them with fear in his eyes. He was already losing consciousness. Jack raised his gun. Abigail turned away. A single gunshot ended it. Silence returned. Heavy. Unforgiving. Without saying a word, Jack began collecting supplies from the jeep. Abigail stood there, frozen, the weight of her mistake crushing her. Then voices. Multiple. Armed people emerged from the trees surrounding them. Weapons aimed. Tension rising instantly. One of the men stepped forward, his eyes filled with anger. He noticed the shoes Jack was wearing. They were his, he said. His voice was cold. You killed him. Jack didn't react. But the situation was about to explode. Then, a woman stepped forward. Pregnant. Calm. Stop, she ordered. Her voice carried authority. The others hesitated. She looked at Jack and Abigail carefully, then nodded. Let them go, before anything else could happen. The horses reacted again, stronger this time, almost violent. Jack's expression changed instantly. Run. The ground began to tremble. And then, they came. A massive horde of zombies burst through the forest like a storm. Fast, relentless, terrifying. There was no time to think, only to fight. Gunfire filled the air, screams followed. The group tried to defend themselves, but it was useless. There were too many. People began falling one by one, bitten, dragged, killed. Chaos consumed everything. One of the men, badly injured, tried to end his life, but his gun was empty. Instead, he made a final choice. He helped the pregnant woman into the vehicle. Her husband was already inside. Jack jumped into the driver's seat and started the engine. Zee! Someone shouted. They sped away, leaving behind death and silence. Only 4 survivors remained. Jack, Abigail, the pregnant woman, and her husband. The road ahead was empty, but not safe. Never safe. As they drove, the woman finally spoke. We were heading to a place, she said softly. Shiptown. Abigail looked up instantly. Shiptown? The woman nodded. It's real. A safe place. People live there, safely. For the first time in years, hope appeared in Abigail's eyes. But Jack? He didn't believe it. I've been out here for 10 years, he said. There is no safe place. But Abigail held on to that idea. Because sometimes, hope is stronger than reality. The road stretched endlessly ahead. Broken. Silent. Dead. The car moved forward, its engine struggling as if it too was exhausted from surviving in this ruined world. Inside, no one spoke. The events they had just witnessed still echoed in their minds. The screams, the chaos, the people they couldn't save. Abigail sat quietly, staring out of the window. But her thoughts were not on the road, they were on Shiptown. A place where people lived. A place where life still existed. For her, it wasn't just a destination, it was hope. But hope doesn't last long in this world. Suddenly, the car jerked, then slowed, then stopped completely. Silence. Jack tried the engine again. Nothing. He hit the steering wheel in frustration. Damn it. The husband stepped out. I'll check. He introduced himself earlier as David A. Mechanic. If anyone could fix it, it was him. He opened the hood, examining the engine carefully. Sweat formed on his forehead as he worked quickly. Can you fix it? Abigail asked. David hesitated, then shook his head. Not without tools. That was it. No second chances. No backup plan. Jack didn't waste time. We move on foot. They gathered what they could carry and left the car behind, walking in silence. Every step heavy. Every sound suspicious. After hours of walking, they finally reached a place that felt different. Tall buildings, empty streets, an abandoned residential area. The kind of place that once held thousands of lives. Now it held nothing. Just silence. Jack raised his hand, signaling everyone to stop. He scanned the surroundings carefully. No movement. No sound. Still, he didn't trust it. Stay close, he said. They moved inside one of the buildings, checking every corner, every room. Clear. For now, that night they lit a small fire. For the first time since the attack, they rested. A little. Abigail sat near the fire, her eyes glowing with curiosity and excitement. She turned to the pregnant woman. Tell me more about Shiptown. The woman smiled faintly. It's built on ships in the middle of water. Safe from zombies. People live there. Families, children. Her voice softened. It feels like the old world. Abigail listened like a child hearing a fairy tale. A world without fear, without running, without losing people. Meanwhile, Jack sat quietly in the corner, watching, thinking, planning. After a while, he pulled out a map and placed it on the ground. We split. The words hit instantly. Abigail looked at him, shocked. What? I'll take them part of the way, Jack said calmly. Then we go separate directions. No, Abigail said immediately, her voice firm. They can't survive alone. She's pregnant. Jack's expression didn't change. More people means more risk. That's not true. It is. The argument grew tense, two different ways of thinking, two different versions of survival. Abigail believed in people. Jack believed in people. Jack believed in distance. Neither of them realized they were not alone anymore. Far away, hidden between the trees, something was watching them. The black-faced zombie, different from the others, stronger, smarter. It had followed their trail, it remembered. And it was hunting them. The next morning, everything seemed calm. Too calm. Abigail stood on the terrace, holding an old photo from her childhood, a memory of a world that no longer existed. Then, a sound. Leaves moving. Something in the trees. Her instincts kicked in instantly. Zombie! She ran downstairs as fast as she could, but it was already too late. A zombie burst out from behind and started chasing her, fast, relentless. She ran toward the stairs, climbing quickly. The zombie followed. But then, it slipped. Fell hard. Abigail lost her balance too, and almost fell. A strong hand grabbed her. Jack! He pulled her up just in time. Focus, he said sharply. But the danger wasn't over. Moments later, more sounds. Louder. Heavier. A group of zombies arrived, led by the black-faced one. But suddenly, an explosion. Jack's trap. Zombies were blown apart instantly. The ground shook. Fire spread. For a moment, it worked. But Jack knew the truth. They're still coming. They had to move, now. As they continued their journey, Abigail suddenly remembered something. There's an airport nearby, she said. Jack frowned. So? My father worked there. There might be a plane. That changed everything. A plane meant speed, escape, a chance. But Jack wasn't convinced. Airports are open areas. If we get surrounded, we're dead. And if we don't try? Abigail replied, silence. Then, Jack sighed. Fine. They changed direction, heading toward the airport. When they finally arrived, it looked empty. Dead. No planes. No movement. Jack gave Abigail a look. I told you, but they didn't stop searching. Inside a small hangar, they found it, a plane. Dust-covered, unused for years, but intact. Hope returned, fast. David quickly inspected it. It can work, but I need time. How much? Jack asked. 10 minutes? Jack looked around, then nodded. Make it fast. While David worked, Jack and Abigail searched for supplies. Then, David froze. In the distance. Movement. A lot of movement. Zombies, a massive group, heading straight toward them. Heading ran back immediately. They're coming. No time left. Abigail jumped into the cockpit. Her hands moved quickly over the controls. Her father had taught her. Long ago. Now it mattered. The engine coughed, struggled, then started. Jack began shooting, holding the zombies back. They were getting closer. Too close. One zombie reached the plane. Almost inside. Bang. Jack shot it. Go, he shouted. The plane moved forward. Faster, faster. Zombies chased it down the runway. Then, lift off. They were in the air. Safe. For now. Relief filled the cabin. For the first time in a long time, they smiled. But survival never stays easy. Soon, smoke. From the engine. Jack looked up. Not good. The plane started shaking. The engine failed. And gravity took over. They were going down. The plane was falling. Fast. The engine had completely failed, and thick smoke filled the air. The controls shook violently in Abigail's hands as panic spread across her face. Jack, what do I do? Her voice trembled. Jack moved forward quickly, gripping the controls. Stay calm, he shouted. Just listen to me. But calm was the last thing anyone felt. Below them, the ground rushed closer. Trees, rocks, death. Jack scanned the area in seconds. There was no runway, no open field, nothing safe. Only one option, brace for impact. The plane crashed through the treetops, snapping branches like fragile sticks. The force slammed everyone forward as metal screamed and twisted. Finally, the plane came to a violent stop against a massive tree. Silence. Then, heavy breathing. They were alive. Barely. Jack groaned in pain, blood running down his arm. Abigail slowly opened her eyes, disoriented but conscious. Everyone okay? Jack asked. The others responded weakly. They had survived, but the plane was finished, completely destroyed. There was no fixing it, no flying again. They were back to where they started. Walking. Hours later, they moved through the forest again. Slower this time. More tired. More injured. Eventually, they reached an abandoned railway station. Rust covered everything. Old tracks stretched into emptiness. Broken benches and silent platforms stood like memories of a forgotten world. Jack checked the area carefully. Clear. For now. We stay here tonight, he said. No one argued. They were too exhausted. That night, a small fire burned again. But this time, the mood was different. Heavier. Quieter. Megan looked at Jack, her eyes filled with gratitude. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have made it this far. Jack didn't respond immediately. He stared into the fire, lost in thought. Then finally, he spoke. 10 years ago, when all this started, his voice slowed. My wife turned. The others looked at him silently. She attacked me. A pause. I had to kill her. The fire crackled softly. That day, something inside me died too. No one spoke after that. They didn't need to, because everyone understood. In this world, survival always comes with a cost. Jack looked at Abigail. She's the only reason I keep going. Abigail lowered her eyes. For the first time, she saw not just a survivor, but a broken man. But peace never lasts. Not here. Not anymore. Across the station, hidden in darkness, David stood alone, holding a gun, pointed at his own head. His hands trembled. The truth was simple. He had been bitten, a small wound, easy to hide, but impossible to escape. The infection was spreading, slowly, painfully. He closed his eyes. But then Megan's voice echoed in his mind. Their future. Their child. He lowered the gun. I'll get her there, he whispered, no matter what. The next morning, they continued their journey. But something felt off. Jack noticed it immediately. David's behavior. His movements. His silence. Something was wrong. Jack waited, watched. Then finally, he pulled David aside, away from the others. Show me, Jack said. David didn't argue. He rolled up his sleeve. The bite mark was clear, dark, infected. Jack's face hardened. You're turning. David nodded. Silence. Do it now, Jack said, or I will. David looked at him. I won't hurt them, he said firmly. I promise. Jack studied him. Long. Carefully. Then finally, he stepped back. Don't break that promise. As night fell, they spotted a house ahead. A single light glowed in the darkness. Jack moved forward cautiously. Then suddenly, a bright light blinded them. Drop your weapons, a voice echoed through a speaker. They froze. Human. Someone was inside. Abigail stepped forward slowly. We're not here to hurt you, she said. We just need help. A pause. Then, the door opened. A man stepped out, calm, composed, different. He introduced himself as a scientist. He allowed them inside, but with one rule: no weapons. They had no choice. They agreed. Inside, the house felt normal, clean, organized, almost like the old world. The scientist served them food, real food. For the first time in a long time, they ate properly. Slowly, they relaxed. Too much. The scientist watched them carefully, smiling. Then he spoke. The virus is not a curse. Everyone looked at him, confused. It's evolution. His eyes shined strangely. The weak died. The strong survived as something better. Abigail felt uneasy. Jack's instincts screamed. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Meanwhile, David stood up, feeling worse. He walked to the bathroom. Looked in the mirror. His eyes, changing. The infection had spread. Fully. When he returned, everything had changed. Jack, Abigail, Megan, all unconscious. The scientist stood in front of him, smiling. You're awake. David tried to attack him, but suddenly, his body froze. He collapsed, weak, powerless. The scientist held a small device. My greatest creation, he said. I control them. Zombies. Control. Power. Madness. Darkness had just begun. After saying this, Jack falls silent. His eyes scan the empty road ahead, as if the memories of the past 10 years are still haunting him. Abigail, however, refuses to give up hope. She believes that Shiptown is real, and that it might finally give them the life they have been dreaming of. The group continues walking for hours under the burning sun. Their bodies are exhausted, but the thought of reaching a safe place keeps them moving forward. Along the way, the environment begins to change. The abandoned city slowly fades behind them, replaced by coastal winds and the distant sound of waves crashing against something massive. As they move closer, they finally reach a high cliff. From there, they see something unbelievable. Far across the water, several massive ships are connected together, forming a floating settlement. Shiptown. For a moment, no one says a word. Abigail's eyes fill with excitement and disbelief. After everything they have been through, this place actually exists. But Jack doesn't smile. Instead, his expression grows serious. He notices something unusual. The water around Shiptown is not calm. There are strange ripples moving unnaturally fast beneath the surface. Before he can say anything, a loud explosion echoes in the distance. Smoke rises from one of the ships. Something is wrong. Meanwhile, inside Shiptown, chaos has already begun. Zombies are attacking from multiple directions. Some are climbing onto the ships, while others are emerging from the water itself. People are screaming, running, and trying to defend themselves. Guards fire their weapons desperately, but the zombies are too fast and too many. Back on the cliff, Abigail panics. We have to help them, she says. Jack immediately disagrees. We don't even know what's happening down there. Running into that chaos is suicide. But Abigail doesn't listen. For the first time, she goes against Jack's command and starts moving down the cliff path toward the water. Jack curses under his breath and follows her. He knows he can't let her go alone. Megan, weak but determined, follows as well, carrying her newborn baby tightly in her arms. As they reach the shoreline, they find a small abandoned boat tied to a broken dock. Without wasting time, Jack unties it and helps everyone get inside. He starts the engine. The boat speeds toward Shiptown. As they get closer, the destruction becomes clearer. Fires are spreading across multiple ships. Survivors are jumping into the water to escape. Some are pulled under by zombies lurking beneath the surface. Suddenly, something slams into the bottom of the boat. Hard. The entire boat shakes violently. Abigail looks down into the water and freezes. Dark shapes are moving beneath them. Fast. Zombies in the water, she whispers. Another impact hits the boat, stronger this time. The engine struggles as something tries to drag them down. Jack grabs a weapon and starts firing into the water. The bullets create splashes, but it's hard to tell if they hit anything. Hold on, he shouts. With one final push, the boat breaks free and reaches the edge of Shiptown. They climb aboard one of the outer ships. The scene is worse than anything they imagined. Bodies lie everywhere. Fires burn uncontrollably. The sound of gunfire mixes with screams and the growls of approaching zombies. Abigail tightens her grip on her weapon. This is not the safe haven she dreamed of. This is a battlefield. Suddenly, a group of survivors runs past them, shouting, "They're everywhere! We can't hold them back." Jack quickly assesses the situation. "We need to find a secure position," he says. "Somewhere we can defend." But before they can move, a familiar voice echoes from behind. Well, look who finally made it. They turn around. Standing on an upper platform surrounded by controlled zombies is the scientist. He is alive. And this time, he is not alone. His device glows in his hand, stronger than before. I was hoping you'd come, he says with a twisted smile. Now you can witness the birth of a new world. The zombies around him stand still, waiting for his command. Abigail steps forward, anger burning in her eyes. This ends now. The scientist laughs. No, this is only the beginning. He raises the device. And instantly, every zombie on the ship turns toward them. The moment the scientist raises his device, the entire ship seems to fall under his control. Dozens of zombies turn at once, their eyes lock onto Jack, Abigail, and the others. For a split second, everything is silent. Then chaos erupts. The zombies charge forward like a tidal wave. Run, Jack shouts. Gunfire explodes into the air as Jack and Abigail begin shooting. Each shot drops a zombie, but for every one that falls, 3 more take its place. The sheer number is overwhelming. Megan, holding her baby tightly, struggles to keep up as they move across the burning deck. The scientist watches from above, calm and confident. You can't win, he says. This world belongs to them now. Abigail grits her teeth. Not while we're still alive. They push forward, trying to reach higher ground. Jack spots a narrow staircase leading to the upper control deck. Up there, he yells. They fight their way through, climbing the stairs while zombies claw at them from below. One nearly grabs Megan, but Abigail turns just in time and shoots it point blank. Reaching the top, they barricade the entrance with whatever they can find. For a moment, they catch their breath. But the peace doesn't last. Heavy footsteps echo behind them. The scientist slowly steps forward, his device glowing brighter than ever. You've come far, he says, almost impressed. But this is where it ends. Jack steps in front of Abigail. No, he replies firmly. This is where you lose. Without warning, Jack lunges at him. A brutal fight begins. The scientist uses the device to weaken Jack, sending waves of pain through his body. Jack stumbles, struggling to stay on his feet. The scientist smirks, confident in his power, but Jack doesn't stop. With sheer determination, he pushes forward and tackles the scientist to the ground. The device slips from his hand. It slides across the floor, stopping just a few feet away. Abigail sees it. She runs. At the same time, the scientist shoves Jack aside and scrambles toward the device. Both of them reach for it, but Abigail is faster. She grabs the device and, without hesitation, smashes it against the metal floor. It shatters. Instantly, everything changes. The zombies freeze. Then, one by one, they begin to move again, but this time without control. They turn wild, confused, attacking anything in sight, including the scientist. His face fills with terror. No, no, he screams. The zombies rush him. Within seconds, he is overwhelmed and dragged into the horde. His screams fade into silence. It's over. But the danger isn't. The uncontrolled zombies are now spreading across the ship even faster. And the fires are getting worse. The entire structure is beginning to collapse. We have to leave, Jack shouts. They rush toward the edge of the ship, where emergency boats are being lowered into the water. Survivors are jumping in, desperate to escape. Jack helps Megan into a boat, then turns to Abigail. Go! But before she can move, a powerful force grabs her from behind. She screams. The black-faced zombie leader. It survived. Even without the device, it stands stronger than the others. And now, it's focused only on Abigail. Jack turns instantly and attacks it, striking with everything he has. The two clash violently, crashing into metal walls and broken debris. But Jack is exhausted. Injured. And slowly, he starts losing. The zombie overpowers him and throws him to the ground. It raises its arm ready to kill. Jack! Abigail screams. Time seems to slow. She looks at the creature's face. That bracelet. Her father. Tears fill her eyes. For a moment, she hesitates. Then she remembers everything. Her mother, her brother, all the people who died, and the man who saved and raised her. She picks up a gun. Her hands tremble. But her eyes harden. I'm sorry, she whispers. She pulls the trigger. The shot echoes across the burning ship. The zombie stops. For a brief second, it stands still, almost human again. Then it falls. Silence. Abigail drops the gun, her body shaking. Jack slowly stands and walks toward her. Without saying a word, he pulls her into a tight embrace. They don't need words. They survived. But at a cost. Behind them, the ship begins to collapse completely. They quickly move to the boat and push away from Shiptown. As they drift across the water, they watch the massive structure burn and sink into the ocean. Everything gone. For a long time, no one speaks. Only the sound of waves remains. Days later, the survivors reach a quiet shoreline. A new place. Unknown, but peaceful. Jack steps onto the land first, then helps Megan and her baby. Finally, Abigail follows. She looks around. No zombies. No destruction. Just silence and possibility. Jack turns to her. What now? He asks. Abigail takes a deep breath. For the first time, she doesn't look afraid. We start again. She looks at the baby in Megan's arms. A new life. A new future. Jack nods slowly. Together, they walk forward into the unknown. Not as survivors anymore, but as the beginning of something new.